My name is Alissa, and this is my artist talk. I'm currently a Birmingham-based artist in my final year of the Fine Art BA at BCU. Whilst the city's art scene does project its influence onto my work, a lot of my original ideas spur from my home life in the Cheshire countryside. The environments that I situate myself within usually become the focus of my interrogation. I would describe the majority of my works as a fusion of what I love combined with what I know, hence animalistic forms being a major embodiment within my practice. This overview is an investigation into why my work translated from intricate technical prints and drawings to my more recently prioritised subject matter, sculptural forms. I'm going to discuss my thought processes and decisions behind how certain pieces originated, as well as some reactions they may fabricate. This is Norman. He represents a bizarre sheep-like being who undertook a series of unfortunate events whilst existing in a chaotic farm setting. I twisted, scrunched and folded different soft fabrics during Norman's making process. In doing so, I realised that the craft of physically manipulating materials kindled my interest. I always consider materiality and intention simultaneously. With Norman, the aim perception was that his fluffy, cuddly appearance invited the observer closer. Contrasting this, feelings of discomfort are eluded from the entrails which droop from his midriff. In this piece, the grotesque guts are crocheted from soft yarn, so as to make the audience feel only a small element of discomfort. Inspired by Sarah Lucas's repurposing of nylon tights, Norman was created to become a life-size version of an animal prevalent to my local landscape. Lucas's bawdy and humorous tones also influence my supporting film. It contains elements of morbid humour as Norman undertakes an obscene journey placing him in a dastardly state. A device unfamiliar to me prior to Norman was the utilisation of props. In the short film you see farm apparatus and vehicles. Whilst these objects constitute to my personal interests, they also allow me to tell Norman's journey in a way that Norman alone could not. While sculptural art was something that I'd not widely experimented with, the success of the final product, as well as managing to provoke my intended reactions, encouraged the development of my three-dimensional constructions to continue. Grisabella's catastrophe was purposefully assembled for a public exhibition in Digbeth. The space my work inhabited was poorly lit and the floor was damp and dark. This would normally be an issue for my print pieces, however it perfectly suited the gnarly aesthetic of my feline character. Repurposed props are a recent addition to my art career. In this piece I recycled a damaged pedal bin and displayed a feline protruding from either end. The strangeness of the sculpture, along with what lurked inside, completely disguised the common domestic item into something unfamiliar. This excited me. I like to transform what is unusual into something vastly unrecognisable. I believe this is what encourages the most thoughtful questions to be asked. I represented cat fur by using synthetic hair as a medium. I bunched and secured the strands together using clear elastic bands. Whilst this was a meticulous process to combine the elements together, the contrast between its well-kept but scruffy nature was highly successful to me. The audience reflected on how this creature ended up inside this unusually dirty and smelly container. They also queried the relationship between the beings, which was exactly my intention. The various components within Grisabella's making were careful considerations of opposing textures. The reused acrylic nails are my favourite detail within this work. As the claws are within close proximity to the inflated balloons within the legs, I specifically grinded the acrylic to create a sharp stiletto nail style. This shows the observer that Grisabella is clearly quite careless, adorning something that could break her. I always like to infuse my personal interest into my art. Many of my works involve old combustion engine oil. This medium has been pivotal in me discovering ways to compromise and exploit materiality. The viscous, greasy qualities of the substance are fitting to that of Grisabella's exhibited environment. However, this is a stark opposite to the being's clean white fur. These factors are all intentional to entirely reinforce the awkwardness behind my work. My current body of work depicts the playful attributes that I believe cats to possess. I aim to recreate this playfulness when combining and creating my sculptures. Normally I collate an abundance of different textural and material qualities before deciding what to craft. I like the idea of these unplanned works developing spontaneously, and I enjoy to observe progressions which they undertake from the initial materials to the final detailing stages. Demeter was also exhibited within a public showing. Themes of domesticity are represented through the use of a shower curtain which was rigorously moulded, tied and cut to embody a feline-like appearance. The curtain was completely transformed from a usable common object to an unrecognisable belonging. When curated in the exhibition space, the work was elevated. Its lifeless body was strewn over an industrial barrier symbolising a forgotten or foreign object. It was left untouched but not unseen. I doused the curtain in oil, but with the investigation discovered the object's impervious qualities repelled the excess. Noticeable pools formulated at the foot of the sculpture. Whilst not an initial intention, the dark floor combined with the reflections from the dim lighting caused the liquid to appear with a red tint. Audience involvement is key to my practice. Here the audience encountered a being with potential injury. The oil embodies similar traits to blood, imprinting its free-formed yet somewhat linear marks onto the barrier. Using synthetic hair again, as well as an old whiskers box, I made Demeter's face, leaving the words fish in his mouth. After creating this, I experimented with mark making, using hair as a device to imprint oily marks onto paper. I've always enjoyed mark making, but this was the first time I repurposed a piece made from repurposed materials as a tool to do so. I installed a collective of cats into my basement studio. Mr. Mistopheles stands at the forefront of this, a fast-paced creation made from pre-existing celebratory materials, 2 deflating birthday balloons, decorative fringe parts, and parcel tape. I changed the balloon's appearance through the motions of squashing and squeezing the air around, then secured it in position by layering tape. His exaggerated tail contrasts the stick-thin legs which support the freestanding sculpture. He is my most direct representation of a cat, but differs from the rest in terms of scale. Whilst this work seems recognisably more familiar to the viewer, the making of this piece was very unfamiliar to me as the artist. I'm usually more comfortable working on a smaller scale, yet I seek new challenges to further my developments. The reflective gold surface of the balloons makes Mr. Mistopheles the focal point of the show. The audience is met with a blank expression, neither happy nor sad, but this contradicts the usual joy and excitement attached to celebrating annual events. My sculptures possess strange, unseen qualities, but I like this. That's where they differ from my other use of medias. The physical element to the creation process, whereby I'm using my hands to craft 3-dimensional works, is rather exciting to me. I like to be different, so I view absurdities in my artworks as successes. I'm in the process of crafting a multitude of feline forms. With more absurdity comes greater impact. Thank you.